at you all the way from our dorm rooms to your conference rooms. Sabah and Dan Teeman here, two college students who are ready to talk to you guys about business and lifestyle from our personal experiences.
Each week we'll discuss about our lifestyle as college students as well as our tips and strategies starting in the business field. We'll bring on successful entrepreneurs in the millennial generation, share with us their journey and how they got started and where they're at now.
Our goal is to help you students, millennials, and entrepreneurs gain inspirational advice by our spontaneous conversations and meaningful guidance. Let's dive on in.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 37 of Dorm Rooms to Conference Rooms. Guys, this is going to be a fun episode just because Sabah went on this great convention she just actually went to. And it's going to be really interesting. She learned a lot while being there. But to start us out, Sabah, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. I'm super excited about this conversation today just because, we spent months and months putting on this event. So I'm super excited just to talk about my thoughts and see it overall how it went.
Yeah, guys, if you listen to our last episode, we actually talked about the Young Entrepreneur Convention. Guys, that's based out of Des Moines, Iowa. Here, it's just right in the heartland of America and over one of the flyover states, as they call it. But guys, in one of these flyovers, you're having a room of 500 to 600 young entrepreneurs getting together, being like-minded, and really getting to know each other and network their asses off. But, Sabah, let's get started here. So, you guys did this last year as well, so you're a veteran at this right now. But really, what goes into it? What's the first couple of steps? And then we'll talk about that for a little bit, and we'll keep moving forward until we get to the actual event part.
Yeah, definitely. So just a little background story for people who may not know what the Young Entrepreneur Convention is. So last year I was an intern for it, and Brandon T. Adams, who is the founder and the main president for it. So he thought of this idea of putting on this event to bring together a lot of like-minded individuals who either have businesses or want to start businesses. So I was an intern for it last year, and we spent around maybe 8 months putting this together, literally from start to finish. So we didn't have any idea of who was going to be there for speakers, who was going to sponsor the keynotes and stuff like that. So it was really great to see how literally just in 8 months we put together this entire movement now that's going to be happening every year. So this year I was glad that I was actually a part of the team. I wasn't an intern anymore, so I helped a lot with marketing and getting sponsorships for the event, and then as well as ticket sales. So this event was just a really great opportunity for a lot of people who are interested in entrepreneurship. There's people who were probably 5 years old up to people who are maybe 60 or 70. So it was just really amazing to see how many different type of people who are at this event also.
Yeah, so Sabah then, that's a little bit of background on it. Obviously, if anyone's ever listened to our podcast, I always say, you guys will have to know Brandon by a first name basis. And really, guys, he's been doing some great things over at Live to Grind as well as for the Young Entrepreneur Convention that just happened as we were talking about right now. But Sabah, what are the first steps of really getting this all together? What is the first steps that you guys did last year? And what are the first steps you did this year, because you guys learned from last year and moved on? So is there a different process, or what did you guys do differently? And how did it lead to a greater event?
So last year, I remember we did a crowdfunding campaign just to fund the event, just because as our first year doing it, we really wanted to get the ticket sales ahead of time just so people knew about this event. But this year, we actually didn't do a crowdfunding campaign just because a lot of people who were there last year really liked the event, so we knew that they would return for the second year around. So I think for this year, what we did differently was we reached back out to the sponsors who sponsored us last year, and then we also really pushed ticket sales when it was closer to the actual event. Because if you look at it, a lot of people, they buy tickets for different type of events when it gets closer to the actual event. So I think that's one thing that we really did differently, is really build up the hype within the last couple of weeks and even the month of for the event. So that was something that we did differently. Then I know also, last year Brandon spoke as a keynote just because I know that was his dream of speaking or being a keynote at his own event. So this year he was actually an MC for it, but we had a lot of great speakers also. We had Jake Paul, who's on Bizarre Vark for Disney, so that's pretty cool. So we had a lot of different type of people this year also, just because for Jake Paul, that was targeted more towards a younger crowd. So we had people that were younger, and then obviously people that were older. But some other steps that we did was for sponsorships. I know I did just a lot of cold emailing to get people to sponsor this event, especially around local Des Moines and the Ames area just because the event was in Des Moines, Iowa. And then I know obviously Brandon, so he's not in Des Moines anymore, so he's in Orlando. So he like reached out to his network in Orlando, got Greg Roulette to come and speak this year again. So that was just really cool to see who else came from like different parts of the U.S.
Yeah, and then when it all came together and when you actually were at the event, what did you learn from these speakers? What is like some major takeaways that you've had from attending the event this year? What was the main takeaways?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I was like working the event, so I didn't really get a chance to actually listen to the speakers. But I know Michael Donnelly, so she was one of the breakout session speakers, and I introduced her, and I actually had a really great conversation with her before she spoke, and she really gave me some great advice for like people in college who are looking to start businesses. She said how it's not always a bad idea to get a job because get a job for a position that you're really interested in because you're getting paid to learn. So like that way you can be working, still getting money, but then still working on stuff on the side. So that was really great advice just because I feel like a lot of college students, they think that, oh, I need to start a business while I'm in college, but obviously they don't have any financial stability to actually do that. So working a job isn't always that bad if like you're doing it for one, like if you're learning from that job, and then two, if you're still working on stuff on the side.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people view like, hey, if I don't have my business together, like by the time I graduate college, I don't know what I'm gonna do and all that stuff. And I completely agree 100% with maybe get a job so you do get paid to learn, so you can, start moving towards what you really want to do in life. But just you being at the event really made me think of a great quote that I actually say a lot, but really this is like showing living proof of it. But you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And Saba, by being able to hang out there and be with such influential people and learning from them, like you made yourself better hanging around Caleb Maddox for a couple days and hanging around Greg and hanging around Brandon some more even. Obviously, you and I talk to him, all the time. But just, really getting to hang out with them even more. Like people don't understand the point, what that quote really means. Do you think, oh, my friend, my 5 friends, those are really good people, that's what I need in life. But really, if you want to make yourself better, if you want to grow, really, you have to be, you have to be the dumbest one in the room. You have to be the one that's constantly learning. Like, it's true. Like, you have to be the dumbest one in the room. You have to be learning from someone else. You have to surround yourself by those people because then, you'll be able to become one of them. You'll become an influencer. And they always say, if you want to become a billionaire, or if you want to become a millionaire, hang around with billionaires because you'll get there faster. So it's just something good to always think about when it's going to that. But Saba, tell us a little bit more about like some, good things you do at the event, or some cool things that like talking to Caleb and how he's so young and really what he's doing.
Yeah, so the most thing that I found interesting was really talking to the people who were there because everybody, like after listening to a couple of speakers, talking to like Caleb, Greg, Jake Paul, and stuff like that, they were coming up to me, they're like, oh my gosh, like this event is so cool because usually at like networking events and like business events like these, the speakers and stuff, they usually don't just like walk around and talk to like the guests who are there. So that was what was really different about YAC because like the speakers, they would speak, but then they would just like walk around, and if you wanted to talk to them, you could just go up to them and like have a great conversation. So that was something that I really liked because that was like good feedback that I got from the audience who was there. But a lot of people there also got like inspired by like writing books because I know I had my book there, my proof copy, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're in college and you wrote a book, like that's so cool. And like I know I met this girl, she was I think like 14 or 15 years old, and she had a really great idea of writing a book about like plants or something because that's what she was really interested in. So it was just really great to see all like the ideas that people had and like the ideas that were sparked from this event. So that was something that I just really liked by like meeting all these different type of people.
So yeah, being able to hang out with like the speakers and stuff like that, like you said, like if anyone's ever heard Caleb Maddox's story, he's always talked about like how he was pretty much broke. I think he said like he always had like $7 in the bank account one day. They were living in shelters and they didn't know what they were gonna do, but Caleb being only 15 years old, well, he's probably like young. He was way younger than that actually at the time, but now he's 15. He's basically a teenage kid running around now, building this great empire of a business that he has, helping younger kids. And really, it's just like people wouldn't believe in him. And it's just crazy things like that.
Yeah, and this quote that I really like, which really relates to like Caleb Maddox and then this event also, is it always seems impossible until it's done. And that's really true because who would have thought that like somebody, so like Brandon, he just had this idea of doing this event like last year, like 8 months ago, and who knew that like something like this could really turn into a huge movement. And a lot of people, they don't take that leap of faith to like do something like this just because they think that's impossible. I know for me, for you, Dan, like we've done so much within the past couple of months that we thought that we could have never done. I mean, even starting this podcast, like I didn't think that I would be interviewing people, being a co-host with you and stuff like that, just because I don't know, I never thought about it. So it's just like amazing the things that you can do if you just put your mind to it.
Yeah, I mean, we have great things to come on this podcast still, trying to get Caleb Maddox on, trying to get John Lee Dumas, trying to get, Grant Cardone, Ty Lopez maybe. We're just trying to land all these influential people to really help guide our listeners. And a lot of people doubt us. Like if I was to go to one of my friends who's in sales, so obviously he knows who Grant Cardone is, along with a lot of people, but just in general, like, I'm like, yeah, man, like, hey, I think I'm getting Grant Cardone on the show soon, sometime, hopefully, or something like that, and he would just doubt you, and he would be like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever, let me know when that happens. And it's like, it's going to happen because we set our mind to it, and it's that whole mindset mentality that basically goes on the quote again. You got to have the mindset for it. You really got to keep pushing through when times are rough, and you really got to go to these events. Like, Saba, what's your major reason why you think people should go to a networking event or a convention like this?
For me, I feel like it's obviously meeting those people and making those connections, because at these type of events, you don't know who you're going to meet. Like maybe it can be your business partner, or even like your significant other. Like you don't know the people that you can meet. And even like if you do meet a person, like you don't know who they know. So it's just like really that connection, that domino effect of making one connection then leading to the other. So for me, I really like to go to these events just because you can meet so many different type of people.
Guys, I hope you really listened to what we had to say today. Basically, we want you guys to go to these events and learn something. Like they're such a big deal, and they mean a lot to us when you go to the events, just because you could really learn something from someone else, and you could really learn from all these influencers that everyone has these days. But you can find us at dr2cr.com. You can find Saba directly at sabaali.com. You can find myself at danielseaman.com. Guys, have a good rest of your day, and thank you for joining us. Saba, what's some final words?
So, guys, after hearing everything that we talked about during this episode, just really go to these type of networking events, meet those people, and just really meet other people who can even help you with your business, or you can help them. But that's all we have today for dorm rooms to conference rooms.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Dorm Rooms and Conference Rooms. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you haven't joined our accelerator program yet, you can find that at livetogrind.com/college, where we connect you with today's latest influencers and experts in their fields.